chess in 2025 is in kind of a rough spot. Cheating has gotten so easy that even grandmasters at the highest level can barely trust each other.
I told you, it's totally massive and just like you cannot play anymore.
I don't trust him. A lot of other top players still don't trust him.
Top 50, top 100 players, regulars in Title Tuesday, I would say at very 30%.
He also accused Gukash of cheating.
Someone in the top 10 has cheated at some point. I would bet a lot on this.
The integrity of the game is being attacked at its base. So in this video, I'll be uncovering how we got here, all the ridiculous, sneaky, and sometimes genius ways people have found to cheat, how it's evolved over time, and finally, how chess has gotten into such a dire situation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. First, let's define cheating. To act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game. As you can imagine, the amount of ways to do that in chess is quite high. So let's start at the very beginning. The first real documented case of widespread cheating was the Mechanical Turk. Invented in 1770 by Wolfgang von Kempelen, the Turk was a machine that could play a chess game on its own. Not only that, but it was very good. The machine could complete the knight's tour, a tricky puzzle which required the knight to visit each square once without returning to a square for a second time. For years, the Turk toured Europe and the United States. Under two different owners, the machine defeated practically all of its challengers. How had von Kempelen built a machine clever enough to beat most chess players? Well, the Turk didn't really use cheating as much as it did deception. In 1854, while on display in a Philadelphia museum, the Turk was destroyed in a fire. The highly speculated secret of the Turk would never truly be revealed. Or so we thought. A year later, Silas Mitchell, the son of the machine's last owner, released a series of articles in the Chess Monthly. Feeling there was no point in keeping the secret, he detailed how the Turk truly operated. During exhibitions, the machine would have its left compartment open, followed by the right one to demonstrate it was empty. What the audience didn't realize was that a human chess master was hidden inside all along. Thanks to a sliding seat and rotating panels, the operator could shift positions as the doors were opened, avoiding detection. In hidden compartments, the master had a chessboard waiting to visualize moves, a candle to light the cabin, and control of the arm through clever engineering up the back of the mannequin. Each piece on the board contained a small magnet. Beneath the board was a set of corresponding magnets. When a piece was moved, the magnetic pull would shift, letting the hidden master see exactly which square had changed, and mirror the move on his own board. With this illusion, both the Turk's owners were able to deceive thousands into believing they were losing to a machine. But that was only the beginning. As chess grew into a more structured game and international tournaments became more common, new opportunities to cheat began to emerge. This gave birth to a new form of cheating, one that is still done today in practically every type of game. The American Chess Congress of 1880 proved to be its first known appearance in chess. The tournament was meant to crown the best American chess player, and entering the final round of games, 5 players had the chance to come out with the victory. Grundy, who was in the lead, was quite suspicious. 13 games in, he remained undefeated. That's when things quickly changed. He lost the game to Selman, then against Ryan, who had lost 10 of his 15 games. Grundy somehow turned a 4.8 advantage in the endgame into a draw by simply blundering a pawn without explanation. The following match against Ware continued as the same. In their first game, Ware opened up with the odd move that is a5. Grundy then proceeded to give up a knight and eventually lose the game. Something was clearly up. Grundy's play went from dominant to dubious and outright strange. Now in a 3-way tie for first place in the tournament, Grundy needed to perform in the final game if he wanted a shot at winning the whole thing. In a game that looks like it was played by two 500 rated players, Grundy managed to grind out a win and tie for first in the tournament, ultimately losing the title in a tiebreaker match. It was only after all the dust had settled that things really got interesting. Preston Ware accused Grundy of match fixing. He detailed that Grundy was in desperate need for money, so he offered $20 to draw their game, guaranteeing the second place prize for Grundy. When that final game spun around, Ware found himself up at the end of the first day. The game was adjourned, and they returned the following day. As promised, Ware started shuffling as king in the back half of the board, but was surprised to find Grundy pushing for a win, ultimately succeeding in doing so. Preston Ware then decided to out them both for match fixing. Following an investigation, both were found guilty and expelled. Grundy was banned from participating in any American chess tournaments ever, and Preston Ware was only suspended for a year. Not only that, but 2 others in the tournament were found to have been involved in bribing as well. On top of all of this, they found that the same thing happened 4 years prior in the 4th American Chess Congress. And for a long time, that's how cheating in chess looked. By the 1950s, chess was completely dominated by the Soviet Union. Fueled by political ambition and heavy state investment, the Soviets had produced a golden generation of players.
Subsequently, Botvinnik congratulated Smyslov, and Smyslov congratulated Botvinnik. Then Botvinnik congratulated Tal. A year later, Tal again congratulated Botvinnik.
Just a few years later, their dominance was abruptly challenged by a young American named Bobby Fischer. In 1962, Bobby had qualified for the Candidates Tournament. Having not lost a single game in qualifying, he looked like a serious threat. However, the competition would be rough, with 5 of the 8 players in the tournament being Soviet. Unexpectedly, after a full tournament, Fischer only managed to finish 4th place, behind Petrosian, Geller, and Keres. Following the tournament, Bobby Fischer would claim that the 3 colluded together to draw their games in order to focus their energy and study time for other opponents, effectively playing as a team to defend the Soviet dominance in chess and guarantee a Soviet would be the world champion. Although the 3 never received any punishment, these allegations are widely considered to be true. I mean, look at the 12 games played between the 3. Every single one was drawn, and they played an average of 19 moves per game. It was pretty obvious. Fischer would truly get the last laugh though, as FIDE changed the format to a knockout tournament for the following cycle in response to the allegations, completely eliminating the possibility of collusion. When Fischer returned in 1971, he dominated, sweeping the Soviet Mark Taimanov 6-0, then crushing Bent Larsen the same way. In the final, he faced Petrosian, one of the very men he accused of colluding, and beat him convincingly too. That win earned him a title shot against Spassky, yet another Soviet. The rest is history.
I proclaim Mr. Robert Fischer as the chess champion of the world.
While Fischer was dismantling the Soviets over the board, something else was brewing behind the scenes.
2 sides, different colors. One of them's gotta win, one of them's gotta lose.
In 1948, Alan Turing began developing the first ever chess program. It could at least play a game, but with mixed results against amateur players. From then on, as computing advanced, so did chess engines. Fast forward to the late 1970s, and machines began to compete with humans. Chess 4.5 made headlines when it won a tournament against humans rated around 1700. Around the same time, in 1976, the first commercial chess engine, the Chess Challenger 1, hit the market. It could only play as the black pieces, had the files and ranks reversed, and allowed illegal moves. It, however, was quickly improved, and just 3 years later,
Fidelity's Challenger Series games.
The Chess Challenger 7 could calculate 3 moves ahead and played at roughly an 1800 rating level. Granted, to play at that level, it did take a full 24 hours to play each move. But technology was evolving fast, and more importantly, it was getting cheaper with each model. The success of the Chess Challenger series opened the floodgates, and soon chess computer companies were generating close to $100 million in sales. It was only a matter of time before someone used it for all the wrong reasons. As in 1993, a mysterious player proclaimed to be John von Neumann came onto the chess scene. He had no previous experience in competitive chess and entered into the World Open taking place in Philadelphia. In the second round, John miraculously drew against the Grandmaster. He was even winning for most of the game. And in an even odder turn of events, In the last round, on move 9, he just completely froze and could not play a move, letting all of his time run out. Something was up, so the tournament organizers confronted John. Everyone had gone suspicious, from not only his odd activity in-game, but the fact that he wore headphones to all of his games and had a large suspicious bulge in his pocket which buzzed at critical moments during the games. How could organizers prove he cheated and remove his $800 prize he earned? Well, when John was quizzed on basic chess puzzles, he couldn't even solve a basic back rank mate. John walked out of the playing hall and never returned to claim his prize. This marked the first documented time engines were used to cheat in a tournament, and it was just the beginning. With development of chess engines heating up and new companies entering the market, Edward Fredkin, a computer science professor at Carnegie Mellon University, offered a bounty of $100,000 to the person that could create a software capable of beating the world chess champion. It was only a matter of time until the inevitable happened.
This has never happened before, not at this level of the game. A game that's come to represent the complexity and intelligence of the human mind.
The first challenge of a world champion occurred in 1989. Deep Thought, which was widely considered to be not at the level of the world champion, played Garry Kasparov in a 2-game exhibition match. And it showed, as Kasparov quite easily defeated the bot in both games. 7 years after its first loss, and sporting a new name, Deep Blue was ready to challenge Garry Kasparov in another battle, this one being far more legitimate and in contention. Kasparov surprisingly lost the first game. Nevertheless, he stabilized and didn't lose another game in the rest of the series. A year later, Deep Blue got its rematch. 5 games into the series, the match was tied. In the decisive game, Deep Blue thrashed Kasparov. The machine played an early sacrifice which caught Kasparov off guard. He would never find his footing in the game, and it finished shortly after in just 19 moves. The greatest chess player in the world was now a machine. Kasparov walked away from the board looking visibly agitated. He alleged that Deep Blue had gotten human assistance during the game to beat him. The reasoning behind his accusations stemmed from the second game, when Deep Blue ignored a clear opportunity to win a pawn and instead chose a solid bishop move that would prevent counterplay, something he considered too sophisticated for a computer at that time. While there was never any concrete evidence of foul play, some details surrounding the match raised questions. IBM declined Kasparov's request to see Deep Blue's internal logs. Deep Blue also refused a rematch and was swiftly retired. Then in 2012, one of the engineers claimed the move that surprised Kasparov was actually caused by a bug. In this flurry of information, we can all at least agree on one thing. That is, a machine being accused of cheating by getting help from a human is pretty ironic, because with the world champion finally brought down, and chess engines widely accessible to the public, the roles were about to reverse.
And he should get $300,000 for it. And whoa! Deep Blue Kasparov, after the move C4, has resigned.
Over the next couple of years, cheating evolved. In 2002, a player was caught using the engine, Pocket Fritz, on a pocket PC in the bathroom to cheat. In 2006, a player was caught using a wireless transmitter and an earpiece to cheat. And in 2005, one player even made no attempt to hide it, as he would spend most of the game talking on the phone to receive moves. Cheating scandals were plaguing chess. Engines were the primary and most effective way to cheat. It was only a matter of how they passed the information. One of the most creative ways of doing so happened in 2010, at none other than the Chess Olympiad. 19-year-old Grandmaster Sebastian Feller was 5th in line on the France team and had quite the tournament. He finished with a score of 6 out of 9, even winning the gold medal for best player on board 5, and taking home a cool 5,000 euros. But that success didn't last long. Shortly after the Olympiad ended, the truth came out. The French Chess Federation outed Feller along with 2 other players as cheaters. Here's how it worked. Kirill Marzolo, a French international master, would sit at home and monitor the game online. He would then text the team's coach, Arnaud Auchard, coded pairs to transmit the suggested move. The first and last sets were decoys. 01 represented which move it was on. These two pairs represented what to move, in this case, the piece on the 12th square to the 28th, meaning this would represent the move e4. The coach would then relay that information to Feller using a prearranged code. Each position represented a file and a number that the coach could stand at to communicate to the player. At this level of the game, all he needed was a destination square in order to deduce what the move was. This scheme was rather genius and hard to detect. So how exactly did they get caught? Well, Marzolo had a job, and his boss so happened to be the vice president of the French Chess Federation. While Marzolo was helping the team, he was also on duty, delivering papers at his boss's house. And in doing so, he slipped up. He left the room with his phone unlocked. There, the vice president of the French Chess Federation saw with her own eyes. Arnaud texted, "Send moves on the cell." Marzolo had also sent 200 text messages to the coach throughout the tournament, and it was pretty clear what was going on. Following an investigation, they confessed, and Auchard was banned by FIDE for 3 years, Feller for just under 3, and Marzolo for a year and a half. They also admitted to cheating in 2 other tournaments. One where Feller, 2 months prior, completely thrashed the Paris Championship with a score of 8 out of 9 and a performance rating nearly 250 ELO above his actual rating, and another at the Biel Master Open. As you can see, cheating in chess was getting very elaborate. However, the method that seemed to stick among top chess players, or at least the one that got caught the most, involved extensive use of the bathrooms. In 2015, this Georgian Grandmaster was caught using a phone in the bathroom to cheat. He was later stripped of his Grandmaster title. In 2019, Igor Rousis, who had seen a suspiciously good rise in ELO in his later years, was also caught cheating. This photo of him was snapped accessing an engine with his phone in the bathroom during a tournament. He too was stripped of his Grandmaster title. And as recently as October 2024, Grandmaster Kirill Shevchenko was also caught using a phone in the bathroom during his game in the Spanish Team Championship. He was suspended for 3 years and became the highest rated player to receive the punishment for cheating. But the deception wasn't just evolving in how it was done, it was evolving where it was done.
Welcome to chess.com.
In 1992, the first online chess server opened up, which eventually turned into the Internet Chess Club. Things were easy. You could now play a game of chess in real time with anyone around the globe. This prompted a multitude of servers like Fix and Yahoo Chess to pop up. But from the jump, it was clear cheating would be a problem. Online chess was the easiest place to cheat, and all you needed to do was beat the server's anti-cheat software. That is, if the server had some. Most didn't have the infrastructure to detect and ban cheaters. Online play remained fairly underground though, with sites averaging a couple hundred to a couple thousand users at any given moment. As the years passed, these sites developed better and better anti-cheat systems. Apart from being annoying, cheating never truly mattered, until prizes were on the line. And while many prize tournaments were hit with this, the one that is still supposedly plagued with this the most is Titled Tuesday. The tournament hosted by Chess.com began as a monthly affair in late 2014, and as the name suggests, players with a Master Chess title would play a 9-round event on Tuesdays for a prize fund of $1,000. The regularity and financial incentive was enough to drive players in, but it was also enough to fuel cheating. While it's unclear how many or who was cheating, an early example of this happened with Grandmaster Tal Baron, who admitted in early 2017 to using an engine entitled Tuesday. It was also an early sign of what was to come in the chess community, as in his response, Tal tried to downplay and justify his actions.
Did I cheat using a chess engine? In short, yes. But only in the last game of the second tournament. I played against a player who I considered to be an obvious engine user for many months, whose account wasn't banned for some reason.
The 8 games prior to the incident, he just so happened to have won all 8. In that winning streak, he defeated MVL with an accuracy score of 100% in a 26-move game. This led many people to doubt if he had confessed to the real extent of his cheating. It also didn't help that the person he suspected of cheating was also caught. Things only got worse and worse as online chess grew more popular. Take the Pro Chess League, another online ran tournament in which teams competed for the first place prize of $20,000. Its final in 2020, disputed by the St. Louis Archbishops and the Armenia Eagles, was astounding. Tigran El Petrosian, who was rated just 2,600 at the time, took down Lanier Dominguez in the first round. Then he pulled off another upset, taking down Fabiano Caruana, who was over 200 ELO higher than him. Tigran closed out the finals with a draw, and yet another victory, all against significantly higher rated players. Days later, Wesley So accused Tigran of cheating. From the ridiculously good play to the fact that he kept on looking to his side and down throughout the game, made this an easy decision for Chess.com, who banned him. And Tigran isn't the only high-profile grandmaster to have been banned online. Many of today's active grandmasters have been previously banned, but Chess.com and Lichess usually handle these privately. Chess.com, however, holds a list of grandmasters that have been banned for cheating on the website, and they show it to select grandmasters, so long as they sign an NDA, preventing public talk about it. Presumably, this list was seen by Magnus Carlsen, which makes what happened next a whole lot more interesting.
I told you, it's totally massive and just like you cannot play anymore.
He is definitely feeling the pressure. And I think Magnus is in huge trouble. He seems rattled by how this game is going, frankly. Wow, what a result. What a result, guys.
It must be embarrassing for the world champion to lose to me. I feel bad for him.
It's a story you've probably all heard before. Magnus, riding a 53-game unbeaten streak, loses and mysteriously withdraws from the tournament. In their following game, this time online, Magnus resigns in just a couple moves. Magnus then accuses Hans of cheating, with his accusation being centered around Hans's unusually strong rise in over-the-board chess, and Hans's lack of concentration throughout such a tense game, despite playing incredibly well. His suspicions were supported by Chess.com, when they released the Hans Niemann report. In it, they outline over 100 games in which Hans is believed to have cheated in, with many being prize events, and a large portion being as recent as 2020. Something Hans did not admit to in his interview.
When I was 12 years old, I have never, ever, and I would never do that. That is the worst thing I could ever do, cheat in a tournament with prize money.
A mix of these factors, and Hans's general suspicious behavior, led Magnus Carlsen and other notable grandmasters to seriously believe there was cheating going on. Things ran rampant online, as a $100 million lawsuit was filed, and with a lack of tangible evidence, the internet resorted to adult toys? It was complete nonsense. Nevertheless, the affair grew into the largest cheating scandal in chess history, but nothing concrete ever came of it, as no one could ever prove that Hans cheated over the board. If this did anything for cheating in chess, it only made everyone that much more paranoid. If the best player in the world felt confident enough to make these accusations on one of the biggest stages in chess, then what hope was there for smaller tournaments, or even online games, to be, well, entirely clean? One person who shared this paranoia was none other than former world champion Vladimir Kramnik, who in late 2023, following a crushing loss, played into Fool's Mate as a form of protest versus Hans. Little did anyone know, this would be the start of Kramnik's long-winded crusade against anyone he believed was cheating. He began on his Chess.com blog, posting what he considered to be interesting statistics on certain players in online tournaments. But before long, Kramnik's growing paranoia was on full display. This is the last post before his blog got disabled, publicly insinuating that a 12-year-old international master should be investigated for being too good, and that being the only evidence. He mentions the kid being too skilled, and none of the future world champions being able to compete with top players aged just 12. Yet Magnus Carlsen defeating Anatoly Karpov and drawing Garry Kasparov, aged just 13, at least proves the losing record versus Hikaru to be in the realm of possibility. Not to mention, online chess has also allowed players to play elite competition as much as they want and drastically improve training. Not only can this be extremely harmful for the player, but doing so publicly, knowing the consequences without proper evidence was enough for Chess.com to ban the blog. Kramnik's paranoia did not stop there. Public insinuations continued on Twitter. One thing that often compromised Kramnik's arguments was confirmation bias. The tendency to interpret ordinary information as proof of what you already believe. For example, take this video, titled Hikaru Chess.com Data Falsification. Kramnik, who seemingly lost trust in Chess.com as a website, noticed there was a disparity between Hikaru's games played on different pages. Instead of chalking this up to something logical, or searching for a resolution, Kramnik talks about the two sets of games in the same time frame not lining up, and how he believed it was a very clear proof of deliberate falsification of data.
What is all this? It looks like deliberate falsification of data. Somebody is probably, maybe before sending this data to Professor Rosenthal, maybe after, I have no idea. But this is a very clear proof that the data for this research, or maybe in general, is falsified.
However, as a commenter showed, there was a clear difference between Kramnik's two datasets, that being, the gray one represented only rated games, and the purple one being rated and unrated games. This logical explanation could easily debunk why the purple set included more games. When pointed out, Kramnik would disable the comments on said video. Another way Kramnik used confirmation bias was on Twitter. In this tweet, he implies that these players' good performances versus Kramnik, then immediate losses right after, are in any way suspicious, when in reality, it's just a small sample size of games that can be easily shifted by many factors. In another tweet, he shows results at the FIDE World Rapid Championships of players that he suspects of online foul play. He presents their bad performances while not being at home as suspicious, ignoring that this is a completely different time control to Blitz, and the huge differences between online and over-the-board environments. But because Kramnik has unfortunately fallen very paranoid, he is inclined to link things with cheating more often than the evidence warrants. As recently, Kramnik's close friend Levon Aronian has made public letters to Kramnik, pleading him to tone it down. You think you are saving chess from cheaters, but most of us just see you as the guy with the hammer who thinks everything is a nail. But even that was not enough to convince Kramnik, as his long response states that the rest of the chess crowd can continue ignoring facts, and shows no signs of backing down in any way. But while the lengths that Kramnik goes might be extreme, the sentiment behind them isn't unique. A growing number of top players share the same quiet paranoia. MVL believes roughly 30% of the top 50 to top 100 players entitled Tuesday cheat. Fabiano says it's probably more than half the participants, and those are simply the players that have openly spoken about it. As you can imagine, the number of grandmasters who are actually paranoid about this is probably way higher. Back in 2022, Chess.com ran a survey, and 31% of top players said there was already a cheating crisis. Another 52% said it's not in a crisis yet, but coming if nothing changes. But Chess.com? They say it's just 2%. That's how many players they believe to have cheated in Untitled Tuesdays, over 4 years. Which begs the question, how much cheating is actually going on? Are top players way more paranoid, or is Chess.com downplaying the issue? For top players, cheating looks nothing like what it does for the average player. Their understanding of the game runs so deep that they don't even need an engine to hold their hand. Just a single move in a critical position can flip the entire game. One hint can be the difference between spotting the winning plan or never finding it at all. Former world champion Vishy Anand stated in 2014 that one bit of yes or no information in a game could be worth 150 ELO. So if one hint can be that valuable, how can you tell when someone selectively cheats? Well, per the Hans Niemann report, Chess.com uses a strength score to calculate how well someone is playing, based on multiple lines of the engine. Their strength score in any given game can be compared to their chess strength profile, using all their previous games to determine if someone is overperforming. If players flag the system beyond a certain threshold of moves or games, they are manually reviewed and banned. This is where the line gets blurry. It's very difficult to determine from statistics alone who is cheating and who isn't with 100% certainty. In Tigran Petrosian's case, the statistics and his eye movements was enough to confidently say he was cheating. In Hans's case, it was the statistics and his better performances while toggling through different screens. But if it was just statistics, would that really be enough to justify a ban? Especially considering the irreversible damage a false ban could do on a player's career. Many titled players have claimed to be falsely banned, but the only one confirmed by Chess.com is Ali Reza Firouzja.
Hopefully I don't get banned again.
Oh man.
Who was flagged by the system at 12 years old and promptly unbanned following a human review. Unless there's undeniable evidence, we're left in the dark. A false ban can ruin a career, but failing to catch someone undermines the integrity of the game. Every case comes down to probability, not certainty. According to their own statistics, 106 titled players' accounts were closed on Chess.com in 2025 alone. Previous incidents show many grandmasters to be willing to risk their careers for cheating online, in prize events, or even over the board. So what's stopping the average grandmaster from doing the same, when one move can dictate the game, and they may not have proof to ban you? While online cheating is certainly a problem, the biggest worry for many is how it correlates over the board. As the 2010 scandal proves, efficiently passing information through signals is possible, and may have never gotten caught if Marzolo didn't leak it. Additionally, signals may not have to be that extreme to be beneficial. Something as simple as letting the player know when they're in a critical position and need to spend more time thinking could flip the outcome of the game. And there are practically infinite ways of passing that information through different kinds of codes. So chess's most elaborate, successful, or high-profile case of cheating might not even be discovered. Nevertheless, the conversations around cheating have ruined chess. If Bobby Fischer's legendary 25-game winning streak occurred today, it would probably have been met with intense speculation, rather than the praise it deserves. The integrity of the game is being attacked at its base, so who's really cheating? Well, no one certainly knows.